Bastard.
Me too, man.
But yeah, Jason hasn't figured out how the internet works. He's working on it. He just asked me if he needed to put the light switch up or down to get the internet to work, and I said neither. It has nothing to do with it. But that's fun.
It might, you never know, though. You know, it could have something to do with it, innit? The light like bouncing off the infrawaves or whatever. I know nothing about science.
No, he said it's like, witchcraft. I said it's not.
It is like, but seriously, when you think about it, like you're over in the UK. Where do you live, man? Exactly.
I live in the southwest. That little bit that looks like a foot at the bottom of the country.
All right, so think about that. Like this whole thing, like you're in the UK, like we're in America in Pennsylvania.
Would that matter? What your direction you were going?
I'm just saying the fact that we can like communicate.
Why, Nicole? Do you reckon you'd have to go with the wind?
Yes. Yeah. It's either and he needs a compass and two. Like what would that have to do with anything?
I just think it's incredible that we can do this.
If you had said I live in the northern part, you'd been like, okay, forget it.
Do you know?
Yeah, I don't get that. Yeah, I get what you mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know. Like, I thought that was going in a different direction. Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
What do you mean? Just the fact, like, that we can like communicate from across the ocean.
That's true.
And like, I just think it's incredible. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, the world is small now. Mm-hmm. So they say it might be flat.
Do you know what I find incredible?
What?
Let me tell you what I find incredible is that we have been doing Zooms and internet stuff since March, so like a year, right? Almost a year. And Jason still hasn't figured out when I'm teaching that people can hear him as long as they can hear me through the computer. He's shocked every time I go, shh, I'm teaching, like live, interactive. And he goes, oh, they can hear me? Yeah, still.
No, what she's not telling you is there's this like, I radiate, this.
The look on her face when she said radiate, she looked so worried.
She's so attracted to it that she can't. That's what's really going on.
It's not.
Yeah, what it is, Jason. She's scared that other people will notice that you're radiating this ominous goo or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On every video I teach, my face does this. No, stop.
Are we recording this right now?
I'm not.
Put it on. So
I am. I've got it on. I don't know.
All right. So later on, then. Can you send it over to us?
Yeah, no worries. No worries. It's going there anyway.
Right, awesome.
I don't know what I'll take from it. I'll probably use it all because that's been quite a good start.
Yeah.
Even this, mate. Fuck it. Keep this in.
Yeah, this is our outtakes.
This is what we do, man. There is no like editing. We just. I mean, you've heard our show. We just go with it.
Yeah.
No, editing would take all the fun right out of it.
It does, and it makes it difficult as well. I tried editing my first few shows, and I was like, fuck, because I'd end up speaking for like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, and then be like, fuck me, I need music in here as well. So I got to cut out, like, leave it down to half an hour, and you take bits out of it, and you're like, right, this don't make any sense. But mine don't make no sense anyway, so I don't have to really worry about it. But it just didn't really flow. But
it's like a stream of consciousness.
Hey, so like. Tell us about kind of what you've been doing because you're now branching out. Like I listened to one of your shows yesterday or Friday, one or the other, just recently. And you're doing like your regular shows and then you're doing these little kind of macro.
Yeah. Well,
micro versions.
It's all for where this is going to go out. This is going to go out first on Fresh Old FM in 2 or 3 days' time on Wednesday. And then I'll release it later on Spotify or YouTube. It will probably be about 3 months down the line because I'm about 3 months behind on recordings on what goes out on there. But yeah, the little tiny bits, the Here's Hows are like 10 bits of advice from me. But people keep saying they sound sociopathic. So I don't really want to be saying that they're from me anymore. But they are. And it was never intended as that. It was just sort of advice for people that people might not have thought of before, like it might work, it might get you arrested, but it might work, and that's just a little segment of it, and then the rest of it is me talking out my arse for however long I can manage about whatever topic I've decided. Like this week's was dog bothering.
Nice.
No,
I think you should do like a bingo card and have every trait of a sociopath, and when you hit it, people can just mark a bingo card and go like, okay. Right.
Well, they get half of that with the taxidermy, though, don't they, in the way I promote that. So what happens, though, when they fill this card, though, Nicole? When they fill this card, Nicole, what happens to me then? Do I get sectioned at the end of it? Is that what they win?
Maybe, but they also get a door prize. So it's a win-win for everybody.
They get
They
me
get a
paraded past in the Pope Mobile just on my way to the hospital.
Yes.
You gotta have it. People have to have a sense of humor, man.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Well, that's the problem. You get people on there that think you're like,
You're serious.
like dispensing advice to them.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Like, have a little bit of a sense of humor and
Yeah.
live a little.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason we started our whole podcast is because in our real life, we're like so censored and so worried what people are going to think. And it was just like out of the need to find some sort of expression that's real, that's just not contrived. And as particularly, I mean, I'm sure you guys have social media over in the States that's the same way, but over here, and in our particular age demographic and socioeconomic demographic and everything else, it's just, you have to be so careful that everything you post or everything you say, everything has to be perfect. You have to have a perfect family. You have to present a perfect image, and that's exhausting. So
I bet it is. I've never really thought about it like that, having to have like the perfect image in that. We don't really, I wouldn't say that was like a massive social influence over here. We
Yeah.
have one of the biggest influences on social media over here is you lot though, the Americans. So like we use language differently. So over
Right.
here in England and Australia, if you call someone a cunt, that's like a term of endearment. It
Yes.
can be
That's right.
negative.
Jason too.
I call my wife that.
No,
See?
no,
Yeah.
no. It used to be years ago. If he said that, I would see red and write it down to then talk about it every fight we had thus after, referencing the time that he used that word.
That's
Like,
crazy.
that's how
That's mental.
triggering it is. Oh yeah, I would keep notes in my phone and pull it up.
It doesn't matter. No,
Years
Nicole,
ago.
you've missed the point. It doesn't matter what the notes are. The fact you were keeping notes for when you have this inevitable argument, that's what's
Well,
mental.
like-
That's terrifying.
I have proof that I'm
No,
right
like
in
a
a court of
sociopath.
two.
Very much like a sociopath herself.
I don't think so. I'm
Yeah.
just a right fighter. Like I've tried. Yeah, sometimes. Now I figured out that if I don't raise my voice and that if I don't
No,
say
that
anything
drives me
nasty,
crazy.
I actually win. So I do a lot of this. If that's how you feel.
I can't
Sure.
stand that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
because
I
that's
know.
kind of patronising and you're dancing.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
kind
and
of.
it makes him infuriated. He actually gets worse. And then 24 hours later, he has to apologize for everything he said, and I have nothing to apologize for. So I've learned in my old age, that's how
First of
you
all,
win.
You don't apologize
Okay.
for anything. Anyway.
Nothing.
Let's not.
Nothing.
Don't give him this illusion that you apologize for stuff. Because
When
my
I'm
wife
wrong, I
never-
will apologize.
No,
I'm not
no,
wrong.
she's never wrong. So there's never any need to apologize.
Correct. I'm not. I'm very.
Yeah.
I mean, this
has
has been a fucking brilliant introduction to you, Pedro, for people listening who haven't got a fucking clue who you are.
I know.
Like-
Let me tell you, we're the worst of what happens to middle-aged American white folk who get married and then just have to deal with the ramifications of that. That's what I mean. That's
Luckily,
what us.
listen. Jack's got the world by the balls. He's a young stud.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Stud. Oh.
he's not married. Yeah,
Yeah.
not married, right, Jack?
No, I'm not married. I live with my missus though. I see. I don't see a point in marriage because over here neither of us earn enough money to benefit from the tax benefits of being married.
Gotcha.
Neither of us
Yeah.
are religious. We're not really. It doesn't make any sense to me anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't make much sense to her either.
Right.
It seems like a pointless waste of
man.
a day
Mhm.
and money.
What does your partner think of what you do, like your business? Just out of curiosity.
She helps me out sometimes. I've had her harvesting testicles and hearts out of dead mice before over Christmas periods and that. She likes it. She comes up with some of the ideas in that, man, you know. She
Mhm.
thinks some of the shows are weird that I do.
Yeah.
Then she listens to my
Right.
live show every week with Jimmy Budd on a Thursday at 7. She listens to that every week. And afterwards she'll be like, yeah, that was a weird one, that was really weird. Or sometimes I think once she said that it was funny. She doesn't really find me funny. But that's why
One
I
time
like
she
her.
said it once. All the shows you've done, and she's only said it once.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Now, do you guys have ground rules? Like, can you not talk about things? Or do you have any rules where she's like, please don't talk about me on the podcast or the radio?
She wouldn't really like me talking about her generally. Like if I was to start describing her or what she looks like, where she goes, what she does and stuff like that. But then I
Right.
guess most people would get funny though if you're telling a bunch of strangers the intimate details of someone
Yes.
else's life.
Yeah.
It's a fucking weird thing to do, isn't it?
that.
No, I sit with a piece of paper during the podcast and say, stop. That's enough.
Yeah, there's
Like,
certain things I can't.
He
get
has, because he
into.
would tell everybody everything.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's enough. That's
Like,
enough of that.
Well,
blank
maybe
slate,
you
let's
should.
go.
Maybe
Huh?
you should do that as a separate one rather than, because we've not even said where you're from, the couple that scares together. We'll talk
That's
about
right.
what that is in a minute.
We should.
But,
really get into that.
You should do that as a separate show. Just have Jason Tells or something, you know.
Jason tells everything. Or
Yeah.
it should be like every time I go, we have day jobs. Do you want me to be fired? Like, stop right now. I don't look good in this story.
The truth is, we well, I shouldn't say it. Never mind. I can't. Like, that's okay. Take those day jobs, and we'll move on to the next phase where this becomes our day job.
Okay, well, I don't want that. I don't want to be
Just-
pushed right into it.
But you're gonna get that in betweeny bit though, Jace, there where you've got to have the day job that you've just lost. You're gonna have to then find a
Yes.
part-time day job to fill in that gap. And I can tell you from experience, when there's loads of weird shit about you on the internet and you go for
Yeah.
a job interview, the interviewers they're interested, but they don't fucking like you. Because I've sat in interviews and they've gone to me, they've gone, sorry, Jack, we've searched your name as we do every time we go on
Right.
Google, every applicant. Do you mind telling us what it is we found? And I'd be like, well, I don't know, because there's been quite a lot of news articles. Was it the rat scrotum necklaces? They'd be like, no. It was a rat. Oh, which rat was it? Was it the pencil case rat? They'd be like, no. Like, oh, okay. It's best. You tell me what you've seen.
Right.
That's right.
Tell us
and
about.
I've said enough.
tell you about it.
Tell
Yeah.
us about you, Jack. That's how they're going to open the interview.
Oh my.
Tell us about yourself. What can you know?
Oh,
and
I fell
guess
for that
ours
before,
is so-
when I've
ours
done
is so like polar for what we do, because we have this podcast and we're the purpose of the podcast is really just to talk about spooky stuff that I like to do, that again I could not share in mixed company because I'm a teacher by day, so I have teacher friends, and then we have children, and all my other friends revolve around my kids.
Okay.
And they it would just be a very sort of, I could never be like, so hey, did anybody see that ghost video last week on the internet? It would be crickets, right? I go to functions and I go with moms that are very well put together, and they talk about Botox and the Real Housewives and what's happening in sports and in our local community, but they don't talk about anything else.
Right.
So we started it really for to just talk about
Just
spooky
needed
stuff.
to vent, did you?
Yeah.
Why don't you?
And now it
You
has
need to vent.
devolved into some sort of nut thing where we just like spew all of our
It's
interests and our I don't know, we just talk about everything that comes to our mind. But I always have to remember I'm a teacher first, kinda. And I teach high school students, but my high school students have disabilities. So they're not going to be on the internet per se. I do have a few. And I live in fear. I do have a few.
No,
And I
I'm
know
just
that they
laughing at the way you said that, because of the way
I do
Jason looked
have
at
a
you
few
as
that
when
can, like,
you said
Google stuff.
I do have students, but they are disabled. And Jason looked at you as if to go, "How the fuck are you going to finish that sentence?"
But I have a couple that love spooky stuff, and they know I like to put it in my lessons and really kind of capture their attention, because they're high school kids still.
Yeah,
They don't know I have a podcast,
No.
and they don't know
Well, that's
anything
nothing
about
though. That'd be nothing, because when we was at school, we had one of our teachers. She'd been in for about a month. I can remember her name. Probably best not to say because it'd be libelous. But it turned out she was a softcore porn star.
Yeah.
Which is the
Really?
worst. Yeah, and that's the worst type of porn, isn't it? Because you don't even get to see even a nipple.
No,
It's just all very
like,
suggestive
I
videos.
mean, I don't
got
want to
fired
see
for it.
suggestive nudity. I want to see real nudity.
Ugh.
Yeah, isn't it? Especially when you're in school, and you're looking at the teenagers. And you're like,
right.
'cause imagine the power of a teenage boy, or even probably more from a teenage girl to a fully grown woman going, Miss,
Yeah.
I've seen your bumhole.
Yeah, no, that's not
Brilliant.
Good. Yeah. So, well, I guess if on the spectrum, then we're okay.
So
Yeah.
listen, why don't you
Yeah.
tell everybody kind of what it is that we do?
Yeah,
What it is,
Yeah, what
okay.
it is that
let's
we
tell them about your show.
So about a year in June, we started a podcast called The Couple That Scares Together. And the purpose was just to do something during quarantine, because we were locked in our house with 4 children, and it was maddening. And I needed something. And I said, well, I listen to podcasts ad nauseum. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I said, I'd like to talk myself, and I would talk Jason's ear off when he came home from work. I'd be
it's
like,
terrible.
guess what I heard? Or I'd say, like, I just went down a rabbit hole about this haunted house and I want to share it with you. And frankly, he probably wasn't all that interested.
No, which is fine. Like, I didn't come into it with because I wanted to discuss paranormal, but I wanted to take part in a podcast with my wife, and I do find this stuff interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I enjoy connecting with people and like meeting new people and sharing experiences and ideas.
Mhm.
Like, that's the part of it that I love. Like, just the idea that we can communicate back and forth, like, to me is real. I mean, that's exciting, interesting, and I really look forward to doing this stuff today. That's what I get out of it. My wife, like, I mean, I love, to be honest, like, I love the conspiracy stuff.
Yeah.
You get a
But
box
like,
to stand on.
Mhm.
yeah. But in our given profession,
Gotta be careful.
yeah, we have to kind of
It's a
tread
slippery
lightly
slope.
there.
Yes, but he's a perfect captive audience because he honestly has no idea about stuff. So when I say, hey, tonight we're going to talk about this topic, part of the fun is he's heard nothing. He knows nothing about what we're going to talk about, or maybe a little bit. So I would normally at the dinner table tell him the same stuff I'm telling people that they can just listen to. And
So
then
how
I have
often in the
found
night
out
do your kids wake up screaming then?
Sometimes, oh, well,
Because if you're
Typically-
discussing all this stuff around
Yeah,
tea, and
sometimes my daughter in particular is very frightened of stuff. But she would say, like, stop playing it on the Alexa, your podcast, or the podcast I was listening to in the kitchen. She'd say, you need to get headphones because I'm having nightmares. So we kind of keep that part of them separate. Our boys love it. And we have a 5-year-old who is a strange sort of little creature. We love him. We are convinced that he is like has one foot in this world and one foot in another world. And he loves everything spooky and scary. He watches horror movies for fun. We let him. I'm sure he's going to have damage later.
yeah, I'd say so. I've got a cousin who we used to let watch. Is it Hellraiser, the one with Pinhead in?
Oh,
We
yeah.
used to watch them
Yeah.
on repeat every day. I think there's 3 of them, isn't there? You used to watch all 3 of them, I think it was, or 2 of them, all day, every day. And on roundabout his, I think it was his 5th or 6th birthday, and we kept finding him in the garden, jumping on snails and slugs and saying, oh, I'm sending them to hell. I'm sending them to
my.
hell, Nana. So,
Yeah, that calls for some sort of intervention.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
doing any of
well,
that.
you might be on your way to that.
Maybe,
We might be.
maybe.
We might be. Yeah.
Fingers crossed, though, because if he becomes a serial killer or something 10 years down the line, you've got a show.
We have
Yeah,
something.
we should.
Or
And you've got the origin story already set
Yes.
out with your previous ones.
Well, I always say
Firsthand.
he's going to either
Yeah.
be the best ghost hunter, law enforcement, something like that, because he's super aggressive, or he's going to lead a gang. It could go either direction.
Listen, something else to point out here. He has a very sharp sense of humor too.
He
He's
does.
very funny. Like he's got he's got all these latent abilities. He's only 5 years old. Who knows what he's going to be doing?
He's
Right.
a
Maybe he's going to be doing taxidermy with you. Who knows?
Well,
Maybe.
nothing seems to faze him. And we, out of all of our kids, he's different. And, I know
Okay.
parents probably say that, but he really is. We have caught him, but caught him talking to people that aren't there. Like, he's very, very open. And he's just, for him, communicating to whatever else is out there, whether it's a dimension or the other side or people in heaven or angel, whatever you want to call them, for him, it's not weird or strange. And from what we've been told, that a lot of kids have this and it slowly starts to go away by the time they turn 5 and 6. It'll slowly start to go away. We might have saw a little bit with our daughter, like she would talk about some things, but Teddy, it's not going away. And part of it is, even if it scares us, we try not to let on it does. Like he plays this game with his older siblings called Hide in the Dark. And 5-year-olds are typically developmentally supposed to be scared of the dark. It's just what happens. And he is not. So he will hide in different dark places and they'd like to see who can last the longest. And he lasts the longest, but he also talks to people in the dark.
Yeah, that's why the others leave then, because they're scared shitless of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. His brother and sister are like, we're not playing
He's
this
playing a
game anymore.
powerful game then, isn't he? If he's got his older siblings scared of him because he's talking to ghosts or imaginary friends or aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's something we can jump
before.
off of though, Nicole. You're saying extra dimensional beings and that and ghosts and that. What do you think's more likely? Do you reckon that the ghosts of like dead people that have passed but only since like the Victorian era, because you only really see ghosts from then? Or do you reckon that they're sort of creatures from another dimension? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah,
You
I
go
think
ahead.
I think that it's a planes of dimension, and I think that he crosses in and out seamlessly. That he doesn't even know he's doing it. He did tell me that he knows people are different because their mouths don't move.
He
A lot of
said
them
that.
have said that.
Yeah,
That gets
and
said
that's
by a
how he
lot.
knows it's different.
Yeah. That's
Something
something that's said by a lot, and that comes in with the idea, though, that there are extra dimensional beings that will try
Yes.
to emulate us, but they have no idea about how we perceive sound. I don't know how anyone knows this stuff, but
Right.
from what I've read, these interdimensional beings don't understand how we interpret sound and don't understand that it has to come from an actual source. They can just emit it, so they wouldn't
Yes.
know to move the mouth. So that does tie in with that
Well,
I've read in the
and
past.
part of the reason why I think he is the way he is, when he was born a full-term baby, but I had a lot of complications. I had with my other kids too. They gave him a drug in the NICU because he wasn't breathing really well, and we later found out at about 3 months old, he no longer had hearing. That he was, when we got him tested, because I noticed it when he was 3 months old. This child is not hearing the way he should. And he was diagnosed with auditory neuropathy, and they told me he would be profoundly deaf. So Jason and I began sign language because I have a degree in it anyway, ironically. But we, as a family, we prepared to have a profoundly deaf child, and we were going to integrate him into the deaf community, the whole thing. And we gave him all these interventions and services. He began to speak early, and we were told that his nerves were holding, and they were going in and out. But if he got to age 4, and they hadn't gone out completely, that he might just be able to hear. Like he might be okay. Well, he's now 5, over 5.5, and he speaks brilliantly. He has no sort of impediment you would expect or articulation issue. But I think that sensory deprivation or that removing of one of his senses heightened another. So that's why he can stand in the dark and shut his eyes and maybe not even hear but communicate with others. So I think that's the way he is. It was a sensory sort of one shut off and the rest clicked on in a different way, and he has retained some of those skills. I think it's just a muscle, and he was able to access that other kids aren't.
Cool.
And there's not many kids like him.
Tell me about when, like, what was it, like a couple of months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, I walked in the bathroom. He was showering in the bathroom, like, by himself. And I yelled out for him. He didn't answer. And I yelled again, "Hey, Teddy," and he didn't answer. So I walked in the bathroom and like pulled the curtain back to see if he was okay, just checking up on him. And there he was on the floor of the shower with his arms kind of like laid out, like as if he was in prayer, like kneeling. And like you could tell that he was just kind of listening with his head down and focusing on some kind, it looked like a prayer or some type of communication. Like he didn't hear me walk in and call his name because he was so tuned into what was, whatever it was that he was doing.
What
Which
did he
is
say he
odd
was
because
doing?
I think he was meditating, but he should know what that is because we are not religious. We used to be, but after he was born, we weren't. He doesn't go to church. He doesn't see prayer.
What is it
in a
that turned you
traditional
away
form.
from religion then? What was it then?
The church, to be honest.
The church. I was raised Catholic, and Jason converted when we were married. And his conversion, I went through it with him, and had a problem along the way every time. Like I just had realized that all these like archetypes and narratives that I've been told no longer served a purpose in my life, and that I could love God or love the universe or love whatever's out there and my family and be a great person and radiate goodness without religion and without doing that to my children, that structure. I just decided our family didn't need it. And everything then became, I no longer need this tool. Like, I think religion and structure is fantastic. It's just not something I need. And
It's
my
good if
children
your
might
mum and
decide
dad are
different.
busy, innit? It's good when when the parents are busy. Say if the parents are working full time, then yeah, convince the kid that God exists and that God is keeping an eye on him when the mum and dad aren't, and if he does
Right.
something bad, the mum and dad aren't going to punish him right now because they don't know, but God and Jesus might, smack him about a bit and send him to hell or whatever, or
Right.
make him forever sit in a waiting room. It's like a babysitting tool, isn't it?
Right. Right. And I think, and then I lost my mom about a year ago, and I watched her pass away, and I was okay with I was okay with the process of letting her go. And she was very religious. And I think it was very symbolic that when I let her go, I let that part of it go. And then Teddy too told me, because he talks to people and he would say like that he speaks to my mom, and he would say when people get mad at him or say, Teddy, she's in heaven, he would say, no, she's just in the other place. Like that's what he says. You can call whatever you want.
This might be inappropriate to ask, and if it is, I am sorry, but I don't really have a gauge on that. From someone who sort of studies the paranormal and that, from your point of view, Nicole, what was it like to see your mum pass? If that's a really emotional question, I apologize, but
no, it was it was a profound experience in that she was sick, not sick for very long, but towards the end, we were praying that she would go. She was praying that she would go, and it was an experience. My sister and I are her only children, and we're very close. And we were very close to her. Like she lived with us. So my mom was my whole world. And my mom said some things at the end that now we're just starting to put those pieces together that they make sense. But I'm 100% convinced now, watching her physically die, that there is something else. And I don't know what that something else is. I don't necessarily believe in a heaven and hell, but I do believe that it's someplace you want to go. And like a next step or another room. Or like there's a party going on and I can't get there, but she can, because her last moments there was a distinct piece that hadn't been there when she was towards the end. Yes, like it was a single tear that she squeezed her eye, a single tear that came down, and she left her body completely, and I saw her go. And I know she was going someplace better. And between that and I've had some other experiences where I've had like loved ones pass. I just now, nothing about death scares me. Nothing about that. I don't look forward to it. I don't want to go through it. I'm not ready. I worry about my children. I worry about Jason. But I think something else is the next tangible step, or whatever comes next is something we should never resist. And I now know that.
What do you think that is then?
Yeah.
What do you both think that is then? What do you think? Yeah, we can start getting a bit deep now. What do you think this is then, what we're in now? Because you got different theories out there. Like some people they used to think this was some form of book that's translated now into being a simulation.
Right.
Other people think this is all the mind of one creature, and it's that creature trying to learn a new environment before it moves into that environment. But what do you?
I don't think it's any of that stuff. I think it's another, like a spiritual plane, like a spiritual realm. Like I believe, and some of this I guess comes from, like the religious constructs or the background, what you want to call it. But like there is like a soul, a spirit, like a being that is you, like outside of your body. I mean, I do feel that way, that like there is, like there's some other plane that that we just can't get to or haven't learned how to get to because of our physical selves are here. But there's more to this world than just what we can see and feel and experience. I mean, I truly believe that. And part of that, I mean, that's come recently for me because of our son, because he talks about talking with Nicole's mother. My mom passed away more than 10 years ago, like 13 years ago. She died of breast cancer. And Teddy has talked about communicating with my mom, who, I mean, he's 5 years old. He never met her. He wasn't even, a thought then. So, I mean, that, like, these experiences really have, sort of taken me down that path where I think, that there is more. And like that, gives me, you know, like some, you know, some, I feel
Hopeful.
positive and hopeful, and that there's promise for this world, you know, that things are going to be okay.
I think all of it's true. I think
Really?
everything is true. I think if you think of it as aliens or entities or low frequency entities, you can call them demons. What I think it's all true. It's just the lens in which we experience it and see it. I think we manifest our own lives. I think that we create and write our own stories, and I think those stories go on. I am convinced that I have known people in my life, like Jason, many lives. Like maybe they weren't my husband
that's
in another
possible.
life, but there are people in my lives, my own children, some people that my sister, people that are really I'm close to, that I say, friends that I've met, that I know I've known you more than this life, and maybe not in the same sort of context, but I know I'll see you again in a different format. I think it's you can call it a matrix if you want, or you can call it a simulation.
Well, it sounds a bit like Blackadder. Have you seen Blackadder?
Yeah, a little bit.
It sounds a little
of it.
bit like that, where it's the same actors playing similar
Yeah.
roles with each other through different series. Do you not think
Yes.
that seems a bit depressing, though?
Yes, I do. I
that's-
think it's
I think that's
extremely.
mortifying to think I'm only ever going to know the same 15 people for eternity.
We talk about that a lot. Actually, we just talked about that last night. That makes me feel depressed to think that. And listen, like people, I mean, that's her opinion. That's fine.
But because you
But-
think there's one person puppeting it.
Yeah, I hate the idea
Ooh,
when
dear.
people use the term matrix or simulation. That bothers me because that really
That feels
simplifies. Well, plus
Yeah.
it simplifies this experience. Like our human experience is not simple, and like I mean, it's extraordinary to me, and like that's how I view it. And like that, you should take advantage of this life and try and do as much as you can. Get out of your comfort zone. Meet as many people. Do as much as you possibly can. Like enjoy your life. Like to live, in a place of joy and happiness. I truly try and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like to just call it a simulation is like almost like programming.
Or limiting. And I
Yeah.
don't think it's limiting.
Yeah.
I think if you want more than those 15 people, then create more. Like if you want different, then you get to create it.
That-
And it doesn't stop in this life.
Where do you
So-
think that comes from then, Nicole? When you say you create it, so that means like everything's atoms in that, innit? Like I'm not taking the piss, innit? I'm just
No.
digging in. So where does that come from? When you make it, are you making literal physical manifestations of your
Yes.
thoughts, or are they like a projection from your brain and they're not real to other people, or other people aren't seeing what you're seeing?
Yeah.
They're seeing what they want to see imposed on this thing that's manifested.
Yeah,
What-
like I often say to Jason, I think you might be like a non-player character in my life. Like sometimes I'll look at him
That's
and
a
get a
big,
cut
innit?
and be like,
So when is the
I'm like-
divorce, Jason? When are you considering signing it?
That's what I'm talking about.
no,
Like-
but I really believe we create and we manifest our own existence and our own relationships. I don't know if I care if it doesn't feel real to someone else because it feels real to me. I think if you just embrace that experience and you say, okay, for 1 week, I'm going to pretend like I can control everything and feel like I'm gonna, right? No, like I am my
No,
own
this is-
god.
She's like a control freak to the max.
A little bit, I am.
No
a
shit.
little bit.
No shit, I
am.
would have spent a week pretending I can control the whole
I'm
world.
pretending that I
That's
can
fucked.
get that I can say I'm gonna manifest things. I'm gonna manifest the way I feel if I were to get this, or if I feel if something at work happened in a certain way, or I'm gonna feel this way if whatever. How does that feel? And you radiate that. I think you can change the
Well-
course direction of your life.
Did you know that there's I can't remember which path of magic it is, but there's a path of magic that believes you can do that by writing whatever it is you want on a piece of paper
Yeah.
or whatever, putting it on a wall or staring at it whilst you're masturbating and reading it out loud.
Yeah, sex
That's-
magic is strong.
Yeah,
I don't-
there's the belief that you can bring anything at all into this realm, if you like, by doing
I
that.
think that's
People think
probably
they both
accurate.
did it.
A little bit of that discussion.
Well, I do dabble in. I don't know what I'm doing, and I try to say
That's a good idea, isn't it? Let's
That's a
dabble in
good
the
idea.
dark arts.
it's the best way to do it is just to really just dabble. I always say a little enchantment, if you will, or before, that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'd like nothing negative to come into my world. But I was doing something in which, like, I want to practice how I feel and controlling how I feel, because then the rest doesn't matter. As long as I feel peaceful, then
There's
my
just
world
one
will be
buzzword
peaceful.
that keeps it's control.
Maybe, but I'm
That might be
trying
the
to
name of
focus
this
on myself
episode,
and not
Jace.
controlling others. I am trying that. So one day I was in the bathroom and I had a candle and I was just, you can call it a prayer, you can call it a ritual, you can call it a chant. I was just kind of focusing my energy down and back up. Like just kind of realigning myself, whatever, meditation. It's all the same, really.
And you were doing that in the bathroom as well? So
Just
is there
myself.
a chance then, if energy is residual,
Yeah.
there a chance, and your son is very in tune with it all,
Yes.
could there be a chance that your son was reliving that emotional thing or that energy thing, and he's picked up on what you'd left over there?
It's possible. Now, I did this after the kneeling experience, but he did walk in and say, "You're doing it wrong." And I said, "Doing what?" And he said, "Your feet should be in the ground."
That's mad.
That's
What if
crazy.
he's like the old one of the old Mahatmas? I've had to research reincarnation a lot for
Yes.
truth seeking last week.
Yeah.
What if he's one of the Mahatmas or something, or he was supposed to be close to the Mahatma kind of thing he was on, or he's on his way as a soul to become one in 100,
Yes.
150, 200 years time or something?
I honestly think he's lived probably many lives. And I think that I'm only here as his guide. And he tells me that often. Like in a certain sort of way, like, you think you're my mommy, but you're not my boss. Like, you're just leading me.
He does say that.
He is very
You're
sort
not
of,
my boss.
you're not my boss,
Like,
Mom.
Not in a way that's like demeaning.
No.
Just like
Matter of fact.
like as if he has knowledge that we don't.
Yes.
I don't know how. And people are going to hear this and think that's crazy.
Uh-huh.
But like,
No, I think you're going to come off quite well in this, Jace. I think people are going to think Nicole's crazy.
Probably. Oh, no. 100%. And 100%. And I think every once in a while, though, I'll get somebody that I think, like me, is perfectly normal, and they'll pull me aside at ballet and say, I think that too. Or
But there's
my
nothing
husband
wrong
thinks
with
I'm
that.
crazy too because I listen to this
So
kind
like,
of stuff.
why can't we just be more open and talk about it?
We do.
Like, yeah, but I'm saying like people in general,
Right.
like be more open. Like instead of like, I mean, cut off media, man. Just cut it off and get involved in like more discussion that's like outside of the typical realm of communication.
It's like speaking a
comes
different
to-
language.
It
Because
is.
people-
It is.
Think that they just don't even speak that language, or it's not the same frequency. So they either look at you like, kind of, I don't get it, or, oh, that's
But-
cute, or that's silly.
I've had friends personally that got so pissed off when I got involved in certain topics of discussion that I just had to stop talking about it because I don't want to like ruin friendships and things like that.
Oh yeah, I've decimated, I think, most of my friendships through most of this stuff. When you got like the group chats and that, and you're like, yeah, I'll have a read of this, and or watch this
Right.
loosely documentary, quote unquote.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
was Jimmy Savile more than a paedophile? Was he in fact a magician? And you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
watch this. Well, it's mental.
Right.
And everyone's like,
Right.
nah, this is just dark. Why would you want to watch this? Of course he was a nonce. And it's people. It's like people want to accept what they're told, and that's it. And we know that now. We'll move on, rather
Yes.
than that idea of, well, we know that, but could there be more? Or even if it's not more, I find it like it's fascinating to see that person believes that. Like one of the things that you believe, Nicole, and I think you do by proxy, Jason, as I seem to think that everything Nicole is going on in her head is forced into yours. The that idea of the breadcrumbs
Yes.
that you have, that there's something I talked about it in my Majestic 12 episode fucking ages ago, that there was like some mentally deficient alien or something in a loft or an attic somewhere, spoon feeding or dropping breadcrumbs out the window, out of this interdimensional window, and they drop through
Yeah.
time randomly, like the fellow with the sunglasses or the babushka lady at JFK's
Yeah.
assassination. They
Yes.
could be from that extra member of the Majestic 12, the Majestic 13th or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I love that idea, and I don't
Yeah.
get why when you talk to someone and try to promote the idea of an alternative historical timeline, that
Right.
people are like, no, I'd never believed that. So it is
Yeah.
I mean,
nice.
it's because they're scared, I guess. Like whether it's fear, like whether it's anxiety.
Right.
But I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you can't like the truth is, it takes a long time. And well, I
Well, you
shouldn't say it
could
that
go
way,
crazy.
but
If you start
like, to
pulling a thread,
change-
you can keep
Yeah.
pulling,
But-
and at some point,
but-
your whole narrative and premise will unravel. Like it just
Think, all right,
does.
so
Yeah.
think about it this way. Like, think about where we were just a few years ago.
Mhm.
And like, there's a gradual transition where you start to think about, hey, what I've been taught through, like, formal education,
Mhm.
what I've been taught or programmed, by
Yeah.
by the traditional media.
Yeah.
Like, it took a while to get to the point where I, like, me personally, like, opened my eyes to, like,
Possibility.
yeah, just this, just like the sheer idea that maybe the world that I know, isn't real. Like, that's not, what's going
It's
on
one version.
around me. Yeah.
One version.
All right. I mean, just so, like, it takes a while to change people's minds, and some people might never believe it and
Yes.
won't ever believe it, and you just have to accept that.
Yes.
I mean, me personally, I just decided that that like that there's more out there.
Yeah.
And you have to keep, like, an open mind
Right.
and think critically.
But not as critically as, like Nicole's saying, if you keep pulling on that thread, your whole world's fucked. And it is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can't. Yeah, you can't.
You can't go-
lose control.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to figure out that I like to tell people I'm not married